Section 2 is about functions, which are part of almost everything that you do with the Wolfram language. For example, when you enter an arithmetic problem like 3 plus 4, the Wolfram language sees this as a function called plus applied to 3 and 4. So the input with the plus sign is really just a convenient notation for entering the plus function. The same thing happens with multiplication. The Wolfram language sees that input as a function called times, which is the function that does multiplication. So like the plus sign, the asterisk is really just part of a convenient special notation for entering the times function. All functions in the Wolfram language use names that start with capital letters, and all functions can be entered by giving the name of the function followed by square brackets that enclose the arguments of the function, with commas between the arguments if there is more than one argument. The things between the square brackets are the arguments of the function. Many commonly used functions like plus and times have other ways to enter them, like the plus sign for entering plus and the asterisk for entering times, but all functions can be entered using the name of the function followed by the arguments in square brackets. You can also use functions as the arguments of other functions, so this input, for example, is 9 multiplied by the sum of 2 and 3, which is the same as the times function with 9 and 2 plus 3 as arguments, which is the same as 9 followed by 2 plus 3 in parentheses. These are just 3 different ways of entering the same thing. The Wolfram language has thousands of other functions, not just functions for arithmetic. This shows the max function, which finds the maximum of a set of numbers. There is also a min function that finds the minimum of a set of numbers. Another common function is the random integer function, which generates random integers. Random integer with a positive integer as the argument gives a random integer between 0 and that positive integer. For example, this generates a random integer between 0 and 100. Wolfram notebooks include several features to help with getting the names of functions spelled correctly and to help with getting all of the commas and parentheses and square brackets in the right places. For example, as this input is entered, the color changes to black when the input is something that the Wolfram language understands. On this computer, if the name of the function is incomplete or is spelled incorrectly, the color of the input is blue to indicate that the input is not the name of a function that the Wolfram language knows about. There is no function named PLU, for example, and no function named PLUS without the capital P, so these inputs are shown in blue. The color changes to black when the input is the name of a known function. Also on this computer, entering the opening square bracket causes the matching closing square bracket to be entered automatically. If something is wrong in the input, such as the comma in this input that is not followed by another argument, the unrecognized part of the input is shown in red. The extra closing bracket in this input is also shown in red. That's the end of the examples for this section. Here is the programming vocabulary for this section. Wolfram language functions are entered with each word capitalized and with the arguments of each function enclosed in square brackets, and when there's more than one argument, the arguments are separated by commas. Many common functions can also be entered using special notations. This table shows the notations for functions like plus and times that do elementary arithmetic. Here are some of the exercises from this section. A good way to get some practice with Wolfram language notations is to try doing familiar calculations such as elementary arithmetic using function names in square brackets. For example, exercise 2.2, compute 2 times 3 plus 4 using times and plus. This can be done by entering an input that uses the times function rather than the multiplication operator and the plus function rather than the plus sign.